Anyone who's ever done anything worth doing has dreamed big, failed mightily, and mostly started from humble beginnings. This is a podcast about such people. The most fascinating podcast in the world is fascinating because of the stories of the human beings. Hello, everybody. It's Pat DiCerbo. The most fascinating podcast in the world. It has nothing to do with me and everything to do with the people that agree to speak to me. And today I have one of the most fascinating people I know, Gene Bolger. Gene is not easily defined, but I met him at Union College on a term abroad in Mexico, in Cuernavaca, Mexico. And Gene has played a huge role in my life in helping me to learn to speak Spanish and to try all kinds of different and new things, not only in Mexico, but in Spain and other places. Gene was raised in Larchmont, New York, in southern Westchester County, and he currently lives in Spain. And we're going to talk all about his life. But welcome, Gene.
Thank you, Pat. It's great to be with you, and it's an honor to be able to speak with you for an hour. The last time we did that, we were driving to the end of the earth, literally, Finisterre in Galicia.
Finisterre.
Yeah.
That was a great trip.
That was.
So Gene and I just got back from Spain, or I got back from Spain. Gene is still in Spain, but my daughter Fiona and I met Gene in Galicia, northwestern Spain, and we started our trip at Finisterre, which means literally the end of the earth in Spanish. And then we went north of there to Porto Espasante to see another friend of mine, guy named Antonio Freire, who's in the paving business in New Jersey, but is from Galicia. And we got lucky and spent some time with Antonio and did lots of other stuff. But before we get too far afield on our most recent Spanish trip, can you just tell me about your childhood, your earliest memories? That's always my first question.
Yeah, sure. I can't go deep into like age 3 and 4 like it seems like a lot of people are able to do. I remember vividly, I was probably 6 or 7, and I was with my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, who I was very close with, and I was close as well to my maternal grandfather, and they lived in Corona, Queens. And I remember walking the busy streets, passing a kiosk. I could see the kiosk on my right. And for some reason, she bought me like a rubber rat. How appropriate is that for New York City, right? What, a rubber rat. I do remember having that rubber rat.
Nice keepsake.
Yeah, I'm sure it's long gone. But maybe the rat's got.
How could you?
I cherish that memory because I really loved my grandmother, and they eventually moved out to Long Island, and I'm sorry to interrupt again. The tech is. I'm going to go on my phone because it's saying something went wrong, and you aren't being recorded anymore. So that's clearly
it's recording.
It is recording. Okay, so I should ignore that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I have a little bit of a tech lag on my end. And so, yeah, I spent a lot of time with my maternal grandparents in Wading River, Long Island. And kind of a segue to that memory was very close to that memory. My grandfather built the house, and it was like their second house that they eventually moved into. And I remember being deep in like a 6-foot they were digging a well, and he's like, you can go down there. And they were in the house drinking beers, and him and his friends. And I remember with a little shovel, just digging away, digging. And then it must have been a mole or something came out, and it freaked me out. I ran up. They couldn't believe it, but those are kind of like 2 memories. Yeah. Linked to my grandparents.
You think it could have been a Russian mole?
Yeah. I mean, maybe I was trying to dig to China. Maybe I'm the mole. Who's to say? Crazy world. Crazy things happen, man. Maybe I'm a sleeper cell.
There's spies everywhere.
the spot. The enemy is within, right?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so that's
so you,
mhm.
so they lived in Queens when you were very small, and then they moved to Wading River.
Yeah, Corona, Queens, and then they had that summer house that we would go out to every summer. My parents as well, and all my siblings. I have 4 siblings, and we would
Mm-hmm.
spend whole summers out there. Eventually, my mother would just dump me there, and I would be there the whole summer. You know, she had 5 kids, so get rid of 1 or 2 is a good call. And I remember walking barefoot through those streets, and you know, like on sandy streets, and just always barefoot, even cutting the grass barefoot. It was yeah, I'm starting to even smell the grass right now about those years. Yeah, she was a great. I guess my language of love is affirmations, and she certainly would affirm me all the time. Oh, you're such a great kid. I love how you cut the grass, and you're so smart. And I guess I got all of that love through words from her, and it certainly impacted me.
That's a good reminder.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. Tell those who you love how great they are. You're
Just
great,
everybody.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Likewise.
Yeah, thank you.
Just everybody.
This is the greatest.
It doesn't even take that much.
It does.
Thank you. It doesn't take that much effort.
No.
And, you know, so many times we see what's wrong with the world and people that we encounter, whether they're relatives or friends or whatever.
Right.
And I don't know. I'm in the habit of people say, "How's your day going?" And I say, "Great." And I say, "No complaints." And they say, "Really, no complaints?" And I say, "Really, no complaints." Just because I mean, there's always something I could point to that's wrong, but
Sure.
99% of the stuff in my life, I feel like it's great.
Right. It's what you choose to focus on. I mean, I just came back from a week in Morocco. I was in Marrakesh and Tangier, and I was traveling with a friend, a childhood friend, actually, also from Larchmont, Lauren Brandstatter. And well, I mean, I can't say I knew her in childhood. We did grow up together, but I really only got to know her a few years back, even though I knew who she was. And so what she is really great at is turning the question on around. If someone says, "How are you?" Like a lot of the hotels and what they call riads, they're like palaces that are converted into Airbnbs. She would say, "How are you?" but very sincerely. "How are you doing?" And she would listen and wait. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a great way to turn it around instead of like the typical, "How are you? How are you?" or "Good, thanks. And you?" Sort of just doesn't mean much. She really put meaning in her question. And so that was a takeaway from this trip. Travel.
I like the word intent. She was intentional about it.
Yes. Super intentional. And I think, talking about traveling, I recently turned 60. And my daughters, I have 3 daughters. I'm going to segue a lot into different things, but my 3 daughters are kind of my pride and joy in a way, and not in a way, they're definitely my pride and joy. And one of the greatest achievements that I think I've achieved or had is that they are bicultural and bilingual. So 2 of them are in New York, another is in Italy, but they're 50-50, they're Spanish and they're American. And I love that. And I made that, I was very intentional about that when they were growing up. I made the efforts to bring them here to the United States, and when we were living here, because they did grow up in Valencia, where I currently reside. And there goes the segue. Remind me where I was segueing from.
No, it's okay. Jean, for the record, has married Marina, a Spanish ballerina, along the way. And I happened to be in Altea, Spain, not long after they got married, a couple of years later. And they had a baby at the time,
Yeah,
or two babies at the time. And
yeah.
she was pregnant with Altea. So his oldest daughter is Cecilia, otherwise known as Cici. Second oldest is Juna, who goes by Luna now, I guess.
Goes by Yuna.
Uh,
That's the
goes by
Valencian
Yuna.
pronunciation.
I like it. And then Altea. Altea's in Italy, and Cecilia and Una are in New York City.
Yes,
Um,
correct.
but let's so Jean's parents, your parents, Jean.
Yeah, my
Your mom
parents.
was a nun.
My mom was a
Your
nun.
mom was a nun,
Yeah,
and your
she'd kill
dad
me if I were putting this out in the public. But
disclose it.
she no longer can kill me. She can only, well, maybe she can, man. Maybe there's like a lightning bolt that's coming down. Mom, we're just talking here. I still love you. Yeah, she was a nun. She was a Carmelite nun for 10 years.
And your dad was a smooth talking sailor.
Smooth talking sailor. Yeah, it sounds like a movie, and it probably should be. He was a sailor. He did 4 years in the Navy. He was from the Bronx. She was from Corona, Queens. And I always see this as kind of a connection to Spain for me. Maybe it's a stretch, but I'll bear with me. So the night my father met my mother, the story goes, he was a big fan of musicals. This is 1960, so his idea of fun on a Saturday night was, having several beers, Irish American, first generation. So those several beers were probably a lot more than several, right? So they're going. He would go down to Broadway and see a musical. That was his idea of fun with friends. This particular night, the Broadway musical My Fair Lady was sold out, so he had to turn around. Him and his buddies decided, well, let's go to that church dance that's in the neighborhood. And he grew up about a block away from Yankee Stadium. That's why I'm a big Yankee fan. It's sort of in my DNA. And lo and behold, my mother was at that dance. She was 28. She was a nun from age 18 to 28. When she finally kind of reacclimated, she made her way to that church dance.
She said,
and met my father.
"No more of this." So she was not a nun at the dance.
No, not a nun. No. That would have been, that would have been interesting.
We'll have none of that.
None of that. No pun intended. I mean, she's kind of an amazing story in herself, that her resilience. She was fighting in a way to leave the convent, because you have to get express written approval by the Pope. I'm sure he's not signing it. It's some secretary, but I think it's every 3 years you ask. And I think after the third year, she was like, I'm done here. And she requested 3 or 4 times until, the year 10, she's out. And it's almost like you're leaving prison, right? They give you your civilian clothes, because she wore a habit. I don't know if they gave her some money, and her mother did not want to, love my grandmother, also named Cecilia. But the story goes, my grandmother said, you are crazy if you are leaving the convent, and you're not welcome back home, which is super harsh. My mother was 28 years old, didn't know anything about civilian life in a way. So she checked into an SRO, which is a single room occupancy, like, I think 1960, neon lights, Times Square. And she just,
as a young woman,
single 1960, woman, single woman, and was very smart. And she got into NYU, didn't do 4 years. She did like she never liked to talk about this stuff. So I'm almost stretching what I know, but I'm going to say she did at least a semester there. And and started working for a doctor and started making her own money. And then she met my father rather quickly. And they, the rest is kind of history. And I'm telling that story right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but I think for my mother, her great faith, we were obviously brought up as Roman Catholics, very strict, church, altar boy, all that stuff. I sort of moved away from that organized religion, but I am a man of faith. I believe in a higher power, and I pray. And I do think, I'm sure my mother gave me that faith. It's a great gift to have faith in something other than, a higher power I think is important, especially in these days. It's got me through a lot of trials and tribulations, I have to say.
It's funny that you say that. We have very similar backgrounds. Obviously, I'm half Irish, half Italian. So are you. Both altar boys, raised in the Italian-Irish Catholic tradition.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fundamental to the way I think and act. The religious upbringing is in my bones. And I don't consider myself a religious person, but there's things about the way I think and feel and deal with situations every single day that are just part of me. That the prism through which I view the world has a lot to do with my religious educational upbringing. And it's neither good nor bad. I think for me, it's good. I do believe, as you say, it's good to believe in something. There's so much ambiguity in the world and so much confusion and so many things one could believe in. And I just feel like a lot of people believe in nothing. And I think that's hard. And I think that's a reason for so much ambiguity and indecision, and people struggle. And
what do those people
faith
do?
I'm
sorry.
It's what do they? It's
I'm thinking, what do they do when the plane is taking off and landing? I'm all about like at least 10 Hail Marys. If there's turbulence, you might get 20 out of me. I mean, the ending of that.
I just say it's not
the best.
I often say it's not a bad way to go.
No,
my wife disagrees. She says, well, maybe hitting isn't a bad way to go, but the whole way down would be bad.
Yeah. That would be, well, if you have some sort of cell phone coverage, or you could tell your loved ones you love them. Maybe have
you could play a video game,
pre-recorded message, put it out there. So
you could play a video game on your phone as you're going.
You could. I mean, I don't. Yeah, those are. I mean, as a traveler, and I consider myself a traveler, not a tourist, and that's kind of returning to that. When I was with my friend, now her idea of a vacation, she hasn't traveled in many, many years, and she said her idea of a vacation was 2 weeks by a pool, a beach, one place. I set it up to do 10 cities in 14 days. We did, when I say did, we did a night or at least a visit. Valencia, Madrid, Seville, Cadiz, and then a bunch of little towns near Cadiz, beach towns. And then we took a plane from Seville to Marrakesh. It's like a 2-hour plane ride. 20 Hail Marys later, we're in Marrakesh, and then it's just a scene out of a movie. You really have to go to Morocco. It's because there's the best of all worlds. You have extreme poverty, and you have, you could stay in a reform palace for $1,000 a night, and everything in between, and then just the chaos of the square, and you're in the souk is where they have those, like, it's like a maze of shops, like an Indiana Jones kind of movie. It's real, and it's, there's a moped behind you and a bicycle there, and you're all in this, like, jammed in there. It's amazing chaos that I loved.
But it works.
It does work. And so traveling is that for me. It's not going to a beach for 2 weeks and sipping on pina coladas or something. Not to downplay that. That has its place. It has its place.
Not
Right?
what I don't know. For you,
I just don't travel like that. And I don't think
No,
you
me
do either
neither.
from what I know about you.
No.
So, and we've
Well,
traveled together
a lot.
back in the day. Yeah, a lot. True.
But I always think like commercial America tells me I need an umbrella in my drink or a lime in my beer and sitting in front of the water somewhere or by a pool.
Right.
And that's just to sell me the beer or the pina colada or sell me
Yeah.
retirement or something. Like you and me, I don't want to do that at all. In fact, when Fiona and I went to Cancun a couple of years ago, I got in the cab and I obviously spoke Spanish to the cab driver.
Mm-hmm.
He was taking us to the ferry at like, I don't know, Isla Mujer, whatever that town is down when you're going to go to Cozumel. Just, I think it's Isla Mujeres, but it's
Isla
in that
Mujeres,
vicinity.
I think. Yeah, I haven't been down that way. Yeah.
But it's great. You should do it. Cozumel is awesome. You would love it.
Yeah.
And it's super safe. But I mean, it's small. You probably
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't want to spend a week there, but 2 or 3
Right,
days
right.
for sure. But I said to the cab driver, my daughter wants to go to an authentic Mexican restaurant. She doesn't want to like go to some tourist place. Can you take us to a friend of yours who owns a restaurant? And he says, my sister-in-law owns a restaurant not far from here. So we get off the highway and we're going through these barrios in Cancun.
Mm-hmm.
And we come to this house and there's a house on one side and a breezeway and then like a detached garage. So you walk between the two. And then there's an overhead door and the overhead door is open and one door is closed and one is open. And you walk in and it's all these picnic tables straight ahead of you. And then on the left is a big, almost like a lunch counter. People don't go up to the lunch counter. They sit at the tables. And then there was a grandmother, like 80, and then a mother, like 55, and then kids, like in their teens, or maybe the mother was 45, and the kids were in their teens, 3 kids. So like a 10-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 16-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
helping the mother and the grandmother cook. And then there was like, all these people. There's a cab driver, obviously, with me. There's firemen, policemen, people from the neighborhood. And then there was a back exit to the garage. And there was a courtyard, a grassy courtyard, and people were eating in there. So we sat there for an hour. Cab driver ate with us. And we just had the greatest Mexican meal. And I know people say Mexico is dangerous and stuff like that, but I don't know. I just can't live that way. Like the fact that you went to Marrakesh and all over North Africa, people would say, you're crazy. You're going to get kidnapped. And maybe it'll happen. Maybe it'll happen in the Bronx. Who the hell knows?
Well, I tell a lot of people this. I'm a retired school teacher. I used to work in a high school in the Bronx. I lived in Washington Heights. I rode my bike to work every day, rain or shine. Snow would be a little bit of an issue because who's riding in snow, but I'd walk it then. It's probably 2.5 miles. It wasn't super far. And my biggest fear was never I'm going through, if you know New York, it's called the Washington Bridge, not the George Washington. It's the Washington Bridge, which crosses over the East River from, is it Dyckman Street? Is it Dyckman?
Mm-hmm.
I'm forgetting what street it is, but it crosses over into the South Bronx and you're going into like Shakespeare Avenue, deep South Bronx. My biggest fear was never about robbery or gangs. It was a stray bullet, like randomly just hitting me as I'm riding to work, to or fro. And I never have that feeling or had that feeling in Morocco. I never have it in Spain, even in, the so-called worst neighborhoods of these countries. I just don't have that fear. And I think, speaking of fear, we all have fear. And I know there's a book and it's kind of corny, but I love that title, Feel the Fear, but Do It Anyway. And that's kind of segues back or circles back to the whole thing about faith. If you feel fear and you don't have faith in something, then the fear may overcome what you're trying to do. And I mean, I can give you many examples of that, apart from the easy landings and takeoffs. I mean, it's all these memories are sort of coming back in waves. Sorry if I'm a little scattered, but it's connected to faith. When I was at Union College with you, I had just come back from
Salamanca.
Spain, from Salamanca, sophomore year. I did my sophomore year through another college there. I wasn't accepted into the Mexico abroad, the Cuernavaca program that year. So I was like, I was determined to go somewhere. And I made my way there with Sam White, another really good friend. We both ended up becoming great friends in Salamanca. And so when I returned from Salamanca to Schenectady, and after having traveled Europe a little bit, the first time I had ever been out of the country, ever been anywhere, even on an airplane, I was, New York was kind of my life. And so returning to Schenectady in this gated community, it felt so small. And I remember seeing a movie in, where did they show those movies? In like the
In
Schaefer
Carnegie.
Hall?
Oh, yeah. All right. Carnegie Hall or
Carnegie Hall, maybe?
there was the basement.
Yes.
There was a movie theater there, but there's also a basement in one of the humanities or social sciences building.
I forget the
which they
name
would now
of the
call
movie.
Lippman
Right.
or Carp.
What's it called now?
Lippman Hall or Carp Hall.
Okay, so
And
they
Reamer
changed the
Center
name.
is Carnegie is now Reamer.
Oh, right. Okay, I haven't been there in a while. Either way, long story short, the movie, I think it was called, it wasn't Do the Right Thing. It wasn't, it wasn't that movie.
Like Spike Lee?
It wasn't Spike Lee's movie. It was something like Just Do It, or it was about a guy who hitchhikes across the country to find himself and eventually he broke up with a girlfriend or something. And I was like, strangely, that motivated me. It was like that the next day I dropped out of Union. I went to the dean's office, the registrar and all that. Called my sister. I said, in Larchmont, I said, any mail that gets forwarded back, please intercept that. I'm not in school anymore. Don't tell mom and dad. Because my mother, who was also a traveler, they would do the cruises in like Bermuda, and every year they're on a cruise, and my father and my mother, and she would send me postcards. So lo and behold, those postcards did get bounced back from Union. So I just, back to the story of faith, I prayed all the time. I mean, I was in Schenectady the first night, stuck my thumb out. There I'm in Harrisburg, PA the first night, and it's like I had $25 in my pocket and a phone card to use that was connected to my phone. I was renting a place with Sam White. Left him a note. Sorry, Sam, I used the deposit for the last month's rent because it was like June or something. So I wasn't like leaving him hanging too much. He was pissed either way. And then I'm using that phone card to call people. And it was charged back to the phone, which I would then pay later down the road. And I remember going into the first 7-Eleven was my savior. So I'd go into a 7-Eleven. It had everything I needed. It had $1 Chef Boyardee raviolis. I had my Swiss Army knife. I'd pop it open, eat those, and then sit on the stoop outside the 7-Eleven because it was well lit. And the guy in the 7-Eleven said, be careful with the neighborhood around here. Back to bad neighborhoods again. And so I just stayed there and kind of like nodded off until, you're sitting, sleeping. And then the sun rose and I'm back on the highway. And I had an atlas, a McNally's atlas, big one, open it up. And I'm just like marking my way. Had my little black book. That's why the phone card was important, because I had people all along the route that I knew or had met in Salamanca, college students who were in college. And so many experiences from that. I did make it. It's another great achievement that I'm really proud of because I did it round trip on $25. Schenectady, LA, Larchmont. And my parents didn't know about it for like 10 years until I told them. And then it was safe to tell them. They were like, "What? You crazy?" Yeah, I was crazy. But I was also full of faith to do that, because I don't think those are scary moments. You're on the dark highway.
What a great story.
Great.
But to me, like fear and doing what you did is it's a habit. Like I can have my fear make me stay in the resort in Cancun by the pool with my umbrella drink, or I can go out. And I don't know. I love going out. Like what I do for work now, I just travel all over the place, and it's really no different than what we were doing in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Like going to all these new places. Remember, we ran out of money. Like, how do you run out of money in central Mexico? And we convinced a bus driver to bring us back to Mexico City so we could meet like Adalberto Rios or somebody to get money to pay the bus driver when he dropped us off. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have anything.
No,
it's
nothing.
A miracle that we.
I mean, we were hitchhiking too.
We had no money. Yeah,
somewhere,
we were hitchhiking.
Like
the bus picked us up.
Right.
Two gringos hitchhiking.
Two gringos, and I don't know. I'm not sure if I could. I mean, who knows? Every generation is gonna have a different reaction. But if I were 20 years old today, would I have done those things? That's a hypothetical. That's difficult to answer. I don't know. I'd like to think that I would have. I think I'm a better person for all these experiences. In many ways. But yeah,
I mean, bad stuff definitely happens. But it might be in the category. It might be in the category of statistically, the odds of you dying from a stray bullet riding your bike to school are still not very good.
Right.
That'd be like hitting the bullet lottery. I mean, it's not a lottery you want to win, but statistically, it's pretty unlikely.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, but that's true. But I also would read, or I would hear, so and so random grandmother just killed by a stray bullet, like a block from my school. Not just one, two, three, at least three people. I even found a bullet. A bullet, not the casing, a bullet on the ground, like on my lunch break. Oh, what's that? I never actually held a bullet before. And I had to ask one of the kids, like, I don't know, I just kept it in my pocket. I don't know why.
That's good luck, to find
is it? Okay. I had to ask
like
the kid.
When a bird poops on you, it's good luck.
Ever found a bullet in the Bronx. I had to ask one of my students, can this explode or anything? And
oh my gosh.
They're like, no. There's no way that's going to happen. And I had to Google that, and it's true. It's not exploding. It's still in New York. I didn't bring it on the plane with me. That would have been probably a red flag for something. But yeah.
You're on some list by now. I wouldn't worry.
I'm sure I'm going to. I mean, this episode is going to be flagged by all sorts of organizations that want to get me.
Yeah, NSA wants
is not. Yes, we're good. Yeah, I mean, IRS, Hacienda in Spain, they're all pretty powerful organizations, as we all know.
I heard they have someone assigned to you.
Yeah, I hope so. You can find me a better refund instead of paying. Yeah, Spanish taxes are much higher. But you know what? We have, the cost of that is healthcare. That there are no copays. I mean, sure, you're going to be waiting for basic procedures. Yeah, that's for sure. But everything has a price. I'm happy to pay more taxes for what I consider a really high quality life here in Valencia.
So Gene lives in Valencia. He and I studied in Mexico City and Cuernavaca, Mexico together in college, which is how we got to know one another. And I think the seminal part of that term abroad for me was when we went into the mountains and met the Mixtecas and Satopecas. What do you remember about that?
Yeah, I
Do you
remember.
remember the history of the Mixteca tribe and Satopeca and
Not
why we
100%.
went there?
I do remember it was like it was a project. We had like it was some sort of a week off. Like was it like February a break or something? Where it was a winter term, so it was like
Yeah.
January, February, March, April, or something.
Mm-hmm.
So either way, we had like a period of time. It was like 5 days, 7 days to do a project. We chose to do it together on the Mixtecas, which is one of the indigenous tribes that previous to the Aztecs, and they were still active and thriving and working with arts and crafts and making these beautiful, colorful blankets and ponchos and baskets. And we had to connect with our professor, Pilar Moyano, through an official organization that worked with the cooperative of the Mixtecas. And what I remember vividly is walking into one of the, like, sort of a thatched kind of hut, and their women were working on these, they call huipiles, these beautiful kind of like shawls. I think we all bought one. Probably, I don't know if I have mine anymore.
It was just you and me.
Just you and me. Exactly. But the women there,
and it was dark in there. It was dark.
The Mixtec women were working on these old like loom, like these kind of looms that they were just weaving away, and then they would sell their goods, the crafts and the huipiles to the cooperative. I remember that image, and I remember there being a television there, which was like, it was such a contrast. You know, you have this modern television. It was probably like a telenovela, like a typical Mexican soap opera that would be playing, and they're there in their, you know, dirt floor, making these shawls that they're probably making for, you know, 500 or more, 1,000 years.
Thousands.
Yeah, thousands, exactly. Same kind of techniques. I also remember that we had, again, this is 1986, so there's no cell phones.
They weren't seeing many gringos either, remember?
No, they were not. And the kids would run up to us. We have great photographs of them running up to us and not wanting to be filmed or photographed, but also kind of like smiling. I have that same reaction with the children in Morocco. I feel like there's a connection when kids see foreigners in a place that you don't see too many of them. They're just so honest with their reactions. And I do remember, again, taking photographs, and then something happened where I had a Canon or something, a nice SLR, regular camera, and it somehow got jammed, and we had to reload the film, and we did it in one of these dark huts. And we, you know, it was really dark, and I was just feeling around, and thanks to Benjamin Martin from Union College, I had one photography class in all of I did the 5-year plan. All of my 5 years there.
Marty Benjamin, by the way.
Marty Benjamin, yeah, great photographer. That one class I had gave me all the skills I needed for that moment. Like I was feeling with my hands, reloading the film, all in the dark. Could not look at it, obviously.
Under a blanket, right?
Under
we had like a blanket over.
Closed it, and those pictures were great. I couldn't believe it. It worked. You know, you never know what you're gonna get. How would that have been different with an iPhone or having video? And who's to say? But we wouldn't have had that story to tell. That's for sure. Yeah, great experience. Great experience.
Those are great pictures.
I did go back because I was a history and modern languages major. Something like it might be similar to Latin American studies. I did go back in 1986 87, was it? 88 it would have been, because I graduated in 88, like you did. But I was 5 years in. I went back that winter to do some research on the Mexican Revolution, which is what my thesis was about. And to make a long story short, I was, asking a lot of questions, as you do. And I met this group of young people down in Oaxaca. This is South Pacific, Mexico. And I kept asking questions, and we had a good time. And then I sort of got involved with one of the women, a little bit romantically, and Karina was her name. So Karina was connected. These were all connected. They call them fresas, right? The posh kind of Mexican. But they were, educated parents. Maybe there was a grandfather that was a governor. Karina's grandfather was the governor of Sinaloa, which is the northern Mexico. A lot of cartel there right now. So another was connected to the Ministry of Education. It was I didn't know this until later. And then Karina said to me, suddenly, after hanging out for like 3 days, we even took a plane to Oaxaca City together. She said, "Who are you?" And I said, "What do you mean, who am I?" I'm like, "Who are you? Who are you really?" I'm like, "I'm Gene, I'm doing my thesis here. I'm just asking questions about the Mexican Revolution, and nothing out of the norm." And she said, "Because my friends are telling me, like, to be careful with you, not only for yourself, but for the patria, the homeland." I was like, "Oh, I get it. That makes sense." And that actually tied well into my thesis as an anecdote, because, the CIA would definitely send operatives, someone like me, pretending to do a thesis about the Mexican Revolution. And you're asking too many questions, and, Mexico and the United States have a very complex relationships, as you know, politically, socially, economically, in all ways. And so that was not out of the norm for them to think like that. I was like, okay, that makes sense. No, not CIA.
Couldn't get the mole out of your system.
The mole followed me.
Once a mole, always a mole.
From Wading River to Oaxaca. Brings us full circle.
And for all I know, you're still working for the government.
Who knows, man? Watch your back. Watch your back.
One never knows.
Do one. Yeah. So
at some point after college, since you're at that point, you did your thesis, you graduated.
Yeah.
By the grace of God, as I would say for me.
For sure.
And you end up in Spain and you meet this beautiful ballerina.
Mm-hmm.
Marina.
Sí, Marina Dondelis. She was one of the dancers for the National Ballet of Spain. It's contemporary and classical combined. And I met her through a project that I had put together called La Ruta de Babel, which translates to the route of Babel, like the Tower of Babel. So it was based on sort of a multicultural offering of food, music, culture. And the premise was, well, the origin of that project was I wanted to.
Gene needs to eat.
Sorry?
Yeah. Gene needs food to eat. So
Gene needs food to eat. He needs his tacos, and they don't have them in the Madrid of 1991, He needs his tacos and falafels. None of that was happening then. So actually it was 1994. I had a backer, a Spanish backer, to open up a restaurant. Kind of like a New York City style cafe where you have like kind of a multicultural offering of food. You might have a falafel, you might have a burrito, hummus, all that stuff. That is very normal to see now, especially now in really the whole world. A fusion of sorts. And I thought I would bring in, have music, have fundraising for NGOs that I would just pick. And so I built it up. The backer liked it. He came to see me in New York, loved it. 2 weeks in, he says he he has to pull out. It's his accountant said a restaurant's a black hole. He's probably right.
And isn't this after the New York Times did an article on you?
No, it wasn't New York Times. It
Or
was
was it
El País. That was before.
El País?
It was after. You're right. It was after. It was after that. Shortly after, and so he gave me some sort of a severance to get me through, and I was with Sam White again. And Sam's like, why don't we? And he was really good at this. He pushed me. He's like, why don't you? And he said we because he was helping as well. Why don't we look for a place that we can sort of pilot it? And so we found a place that was a huge place in the Puerta del Sol, which is like the Times Square of Madrid. That's not happening today, but it was an old bank run by a Swedish guy and a Spanish woman. And they were just doing like coffees for old people, sitting there sipping a coffee. And then that was it. And the whole neighborhood behind them, we used to hang out, and it was like very vibrant, young people. And we were young at the time, and it was just a place that things could happen. And we proposed, hey, we'll take over your cafe / restaurant. And it was huge for the weekends. And we'll bring in people and press, you'll have press, et cetera, et cetera. And it sounded like a great idea. That first event was a complete disaster because what I envisioned was I had like 4 or 5 waiters. One was from Uruguay, another Dominican, another from Ghana, another. So it was like a multicultural sort of thing behind the bar. I trained the chefs on how to make hummus and falafels, and we got like, tacos and Moroccan tea going. And the deal was at midnight, the place becomes mine. So there's like a slow turnover. The old folks are leaving, and my people, like 200 people, are rushing in, and everyone's asking for like a drink, and we're overwhelmed. And I didn't realize none of the guys and women who I hired knew how to pull a draft. So they're like serving up foamy beers and just to get paid I just started making drinks and
we learned so much in Union College.
We did.
We learned how to pour a draft.
That was a fraternity bar moment that came in.
If you couldn't do that, you were in big trouble.
Yeah, that helped out.
Especially as a pledge.
I didn't train my staff though. That was the problem. And so that was a bit of a disaster. And I had like some juggler with fire in the front, and the owner accused him of stealing one of their like filet mignons from the basement, and it snowballed into a disaster. But we got a lot of press. That was when I was, we were on like the cover of not the front page, the inside front page of El País, which is like kind of like a New York Times newspaper.
No doubt. It's major.
Spain. So after that cover, I just started getting phone calls. We did radio, television. It was kind of a moment to take and say, you know what, now's the time to get another backer and open up the restaurant. But I just didn't do it. We turned it into a ruta, so it was, looking back, it would be like a pop-up. Every Thursday we were in a different place. So we never went back to that one place. They wouldn't have us. But we took it on the road within Madrid. And during the week, I was teaching English, like private tutoring. And I would walk around Retiro Park, listening, looking, seeing musicians, performers, and say, hey, you want to make 10,000 pesetas tonight, which is about $100 in those days. Now we're in euros. And sure, yeah, okay, what do I have to do? So that's when I met Marina. So a friend of a friend introduced me to her. I showed her our book. We had like some press, and I was like, this is our project. And she was very professional, so it wasn't going to just, not some person, like not a street performer. I put her together with Bidinte, an African drummer from Guinea-Bissau. And he had this, we were in another bar, and he had like a big a gourd floating on water inside a tub of water, and he was just like playing that, and they didn't rehearse, maybe a quick talk, and suddenly the whole bar, she's dancing. She was doing classical Indian dance at the time. She went from the ballet to that, and it was just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I think everyone was like, oh my God, what's happening here? Like, she's dancing through the crowd. People are sitting, and it's like a loungy kind of bar, drinking, eating, whatever, burritos and falafels, let's say, and baba ganoush and all that stuff. And so, yeah, little by little, I fell in love with her art first, and then I fell in love with her. And we just, we formed a family shortly thereafter and had 3 beautiful daughters. Yeah. So La Ruta de Babel, it's a big part of who I am, at least my past. And it sort of encapsulates who I am as a person, I think. Because I love to cook. I consider myself a chef. I'm on a new mission is to find and make the best paella. That's what I'm currently involved with. Language, culture,
La
food.
paella más perfecta en todo el mundo.
Exacto. Eso sería un buen podcast, ¿no? The world's greatest paella podcast.
Pero, like, my podcast isn't necessarily the greatest, but it's the most fascinating because of people like you. Because of you. And
well,
people
thank
like
you. Thank you.
This is just unbelievable.
Are we gonna cut to the sponsors now? Is that the moment?
No, I don't have any sponsors.
I'm just kidding.
But
I'll sponsor you.
That's a great story.
Thank you.
But that's what this is about, You and I have had so many, and nothing like that, but you and I have so many vignettes we could talk about. We could just talk all day.
Yeah. No, it was really great to spend time in the car with you. When you're traveling with people, it's when you really get, I think, quality time, because you're in a car. What are you going to do? You can listen to music. You can have some silence. There's going to be conversations, unless you're just not talking that day.
It was funny being with.
I have those days. Yeah.
It was funny being with Fiona too.
Yeah,
because
that was cool.
She knew you, but she didn't really know you. And
exactly.
After spending, 10 hours in the car at least, like we went.
Yeah. No, she's great. Drives. I really appreciated her. She's congratulations. You did it. You and Jen have done a great job with your children. Yeah, that was cool. It's cool to see.
It's luck.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. It can be, sure.
She did it.
I feel that way too, as well. Everyone.
Can you imagine the statistical probability of us raising productive children was probably not very good.
That is true. I haven't thought about that, man. It's probably as much as getting hit by a stray bullet. Who knows?
You go.
It might be back to the stray bullet. I hope that's not the theme of this.
Dios me ayuda.
Yeah, right. I think they call people in Spanish a bala perdida. A stray bullet is like a wild card kind of thing, a maverick. I'm not sure. I'd have to check that. But if they don't, I love as an expression.
So I make the comment from time to time that I know great kids from unfortunate circumstances or even bad families, if I could say that. And I know bad kids from good families. Sure. And I've always said that and sort of said a lot of it's luck. But one of my friends said, yeah, there's luck. He said, but statistically, you're much more likely to get a well-adjusted kid from a good family and a not well-adjusted kid from a not so good family. And, it's unfortunate, but it's got to be true, I'm sure.
It has to be. Yeah, of course. That's true.
And I think a lot of it goes back to like fear that we were talking about before. Like, I think for me, I'm always afraid to do new things, and I'm glad you brought it up. And I make the comparison to working out. And I don't know, it's not fear like I'm going to die, but I have this sort of avoidance behavior. Like, I really don't want to work out. I don't want to run. I just have this aversion to it. And
Mm-hmm.
Pressfield puts it really well in The War of Art. He basically says there's a force inside us called resistance that wants us to destroy ourselves. It wants us to do nothing. It wants us to do nothing that's in our interest. And he says that resistance is what's between us and what can make us better. And so I would say that's a good diet. I would say that's spirituality. I would say that's physical fitness. I would say that's more education, more everything that's good for me. But resistance wants me not to do it.
Right.
And so that feeling of aversion or revulsion at like doing something that's good for me, and instead grabbing a bag of Doritos and a beer, which is what I did for a big part of my life. Like
Yeah.
15,
Same.
20 years probably.
Yeah.
And like now I don't want to do it anymore because I know like at this age, I don't ever want to be out of shape again if I can avoid it.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. I'm with you on that.
I don't want to get injured, but the CEO of Northwestern Mutual I interviewed a couple of years ago, and I said something like, you seem so courageous. Are you never afraid? And he said, there can be no courage without fear. He didn't miss a beat. He just said, there can be no courage without fear.
Right.
And, this guy had, huge downside. This really old company, 165-year-old company, and he made radical change to make it better and to keep them current. And he could have lost it all, right? He had to, like these big companies, they have to change too, or they go away. Like if you look at the Fortune 500, which I don't know much about, but over the last 50 years, there's only like 10 companies that have stayed in the Fortune 500 over the past 50 years. I could be wrong on the number. It shows my ignorance, but it's a very small number.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to be one of those, and he had to make this change. But I just thought it was great how he didn't hesitate. He said there can be no courage in the absence.
Well, I think it just goes back to everything we've been talking about, having faith, feeling the fear, but doing it anyway. Courage is connected to fear, isn't it? Like, just like your friend said.
But every little moment, right?
Yeah.
Like I get the feeling you probably didn't have any aversion to allowing me to interview you because there's a lot of trust. You know me well.
Yeah, no, I wasn't worried. I was more concerned with.
But there might have been a little.
Do I prepare? What do I prepare? I want to try because I can, as you can probably see, and we'll see at the end of all this. There's a lot of like segues all over the place. So
you were perfect.
If I have my notes in front of me, I had a couple of notes, but nothing much. I did want to say this one quote.
Sure.
But I don't want to cut off what your thoughts were. You were saying.
Go ahead. What's the quote?
Oh yeah, no, it's just connected to the traveling again. When I was in Tangier, which is such a sexy city. I say that in the sense of like, 1940s Hollywood, Humphrey Bogart, the angles, the light, the dark, the whole maze of the souk, and very clean, and kind of a remodeled city. Like the streets are beautiful. There's ceramic tiles everywhere. It's just gorgeous. This is a 25-minute ferry ride from the southern point of Spain, so it's a doable trip. And you could eat really well. The Moroccan food is outstanding. Anyway, there's a big mural by a guy named Ibn Battuta, IBN, Muslim scholar, traveler, voyager from the 1300s. He left on a Hajj to go to Mecca, and he was gone for like 25, 27 years. And when he came back, he was asked, I think one of the kings asked him, or the Sultan would have been, to write about his travels, and he wrote a book. And I guess I consider him like the first travel blogger in the world. he put in more miles than any, even Marco Polo. He's sort of a Marco Polo type guy. But I love his quote. I wrote it down. Long did I wander through kingdoms and deserts. When I returned, I found that the journey itself had become my homeland. And I really identify with that. I mean, sure, I am American. I am also technically Spanish. I also have an Irish passport. I live in Spain. But when I'm traveling, I feel like, I'm on that high-speed train or slow-speed train, or whatever form of mode of transportation. I feel like that's my homeland. I feel that in my gut, just talking to people, and not even, it has nothing to do with politics or patriotism. It's just the feeling I have.
Me too. But I also feel like you, for sure, I feel like you would fit in anywhere. And that's a big part of it. Just like being North Africa, Southern Spain, Northern Spain, all of Europe, Mexico, Central America, South America. I don't know. I just feel like you'd fit in anywhere. And to a lesser extent, I think of that way for me. I feel like I can talk to almost anybody.
Yeah, you definitely
just
can.
as readily. Like the shoe shine guy and the bartender are often more interesting than the CEO. They're just different people. And that's
Yes.
the beauty of this podcast, to be frank. That's where I got the idea. Like, everyone's life is fascinating, and yours, I think, for me at least, is off the charts. And the fact that you decided to do what you did, not just once or twice, but as a lifestyle, it's very rare. It's awesome.
Thank you. It's nice to hear. Nice to be affirmed.
You're welcome.
Like my grandmother used to do. Now you got to tell me how handsome I am, and
well, that goes without saying. And you're on video, by the way. This could make you famous, more famous.
Oh wow! I might start getting phone calls. Excellent.
I hope so. I'm going to post your phone number.
Should I give my number? No. For a good time. No. You can edit that out.
Un hombre libre, a free man.
Un hombre libre. Sí, estoy libre. Just saying, I'm free. Tonight,
Excellent.
I'm free. Tomorrow as well. Probably the next night. So.
Yeah. We're getting to the hour, but I wanted to ask you a question.
Sure.
Like, do you know the most important punctuation in the English language or in any language?
I feel like you've told me this one. Is it ellipsis? No.
I think it's the hyphen.
The hyphen. Okay.
Do you know why?
No, you're going to tell me why. Why?
Yeah. Because it's between what's your date of birth and your date of death.
I like that.
It signifies your entire life.
Very cool.
So if you were to summarize your life for your great, great, great grandchildren who aren't going to meet you.
Right.
What would you want them to know about you?
More than one word, or?
Yeah.
I mean, definitely he was an explorer he was a world explorer seeking his truth throughout the world by engaging with and seeing people, whomever they may be, as you said, from the shoeshine guy to the CEO. I've always wanted to be known as, and I think you kind of described me like that, someone who can fit in anywhere, and just being me. I don't have to pretend I'm something that I'm not. I just want to have a good conversation.
If you enjoy the most fascinating podcast in the world, please follow on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, and follow on Apple Podcast.